Hey, what's up? What's good, wonderful people? It is I, Chauncey Craig Woodson. Welcome to another edition of Chauncey and Chat Live. Before we get heavy into it, I apologize. I know I said 6 p.m. Long story short, I had to take care of some household stuff, so all is good. But welcome to this newest edition of Chauncey and Chat Live. This is the show where we talk about all the movie-ish, action, comedy, sci-fi, horror, you name it, I'm gonna either praise it or shame it. So that's what we're doing right here, right now. Before we get into it heavy on this review, it's gonna be a short podcast or what have you. But before we get heavy into it, I want to give major shout outs to both Diego Tovar and Danny Weathersby for joining me on that Spider-Man No Way Home review. Had a great time with you fellas. Definitely going to chop it up with you all individually or collectively in the upcoming new year of 2022. Gonna get some more video action in with you guys. And I'm gonna have a couple more videos heading out you all's way pretty soon. Matter of fact, I got some coming up later on this week. It's gonna involve some on the TV side. So if you're a fan of shows like Power, Book 2 and Book 3 and BMF, got a little something special coming in for y'all. So I will fill you in on the details on that. Nice little video panel I'm put together as far as that one goes. So other than that, we are going to chop it up on this movie known as The Matrix Resurrections. This is the latest chapter into the proclaimed beloved or cult classic beloved, I should say, Matrix Saga. And the Matrix popped up into our world in 1999, became a major out of the blue worldwide phenomenon, had some of the most awesome visual effects known to man. It brought Keanu Reeves to even more greater superstardom, along with the likes of Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie Ann Moss, Hugo Weaving, uh, the creators of the Matrix, or the directors, I should say, known as the Wachowskis, hail from Chicagoland area, so that was all good on that. And basically, they brought us a trilogy, a sci-fi trilogy that has never been seen before, and it's basically the ultimate battle of humanity versus machinery, free will versus being controlled. Uh, just a nice little clash of good versus evil. A lot of cool stuff. A lot of style was involved into it. A lot of fashion cues. A lot of people picked up courtesy of Matrix. A lot of the action sequences that have went on from the early 2000s on up hailed from that of the Matrix. So the Matrix was definitely a groundbreaking experience indeed. Now, of course, I know when I said trilogy, you had two other Matrix films that came afterwards from The Matrix in 1999. That was The Matrix Reloaded, and that was The Matrix Revolution. Now, as far as those sequels go, I mean, there were parts of them that were cool, and there were parts that were just like, eh. And I mean, if you love The Matrix for the action and some of the excuse me, some of the sci-fi aspects that are involved in it, that's fine. But the other little banter and other odd little things that happened in them, some people were okay with it, other people were not so okay with it. So it's just kind of, if you like it, you like it. If you don't, you don't. Which kind of brings me to this latest rendition, The Matrix Resurrections. Basically, this is taking place about, say, 20, almost 20 some odd years after the last one. And basically, this is involving the likes of our proclaimed hero, Mr. Thomas Anderson, aka Neo. We basically come back to a point where it's like he knows about the Matrix because he's helped create it, and we find out that the Matrix is kind of like this big, elaborate, computerized game that's going on. And it kind of, when I heard that in the movie, it kind of brought me back to Tron a little bit. If y'all know how Tron was back in the day with Jeff Bridges, he was like this, rebellious computer game technician type guy who wanted to, push the limits of making the ultimate video game experience. And that's kind of how Keanu Reeves' character Thomas Anderson comes off being. Because it's like he experienced the Matrix in so many ways where it was like more mental than was him actually going through it. So that's how the movie kind of starts off. And then when you go through, you see that he's working along how, like how you have your gaming companies, how you have your whole crew of people you work with. He's got other people that he's working with through here, and everybody holds him in kind of high regard. Basically, they like his ideas, they like stuff that he's trying to do here. Corey Green, what's up, brother? Talking about there is no spoon. Yeah, there may not be no spoon, but we'll see how we go come this review. So as we progress with Mr. Anderson here, he is basically trying to, I guess, get back to being normal, because him dealing with the whole Matrix situation is kind of taking a toll on both mentally and emotionally. He's got to go through therapy, and you get to none other than Doogie Howser himself, Neil Patrick Harris, playing his therapist, or quote unquote therapist. Now, keep in mind, I should say, if I didn't say it before, this is mild spoilers are going to be involved in this. So tell you what you will with some of the stuff I reveal. But I use air quotes with that in regards to Neil Patrick Harris being his therapist. So there's, of course, a lot more to his character than what is led on. Then when Thomas Anderson, he comes across what he seems to be Trinity, and it is none of the Carrie-Ann Moss herself, but it is, but it isn't. That's one of the tricky parts about this latest chapter. Is characters are who you know and love them as in the previous trilogy, but they're like in a whole different setting. Because in terms of Trinity's character, she's known as Tiffany, because again, this is in a more realistic setting. And come to find out, she's a mother and she's a wife, and she's got like a lot of realistic stuff going on. And as Thomas/Neo comes across her, it's like he wants to say some things to her, but doesn't want to come off too weird, especially when he finds out, she's a wife and a mother. So that kind of goes away for a hot minute. Then you have another character who is like the CEO of this company that he works for. Come to find out, the CEO is actually not who he claims to be. He's like this, I'm not going to say dude bro type, but he's more like the, one of these clean cut alpha type white dudes, basically, who was just so chill and so smooth. But then come to find out, it's none other than a variant of the infamous Agent Smith himself. And this is one of the parts of the movie that kind of threw me off. And it's like, I get it that certain actors couldn't come back for some oddball reason. I guess it had something to do with certain dealings. But as the movie progresses, it's like they could have been somebody totally different other than iconic characters. Like, I'll get into the same thing in regards to the Morpheus character in a little bit. But as Corey Green mentioned, CEO douchebag, which he was, is basically another rendition of Agent Smith. He's this hipper, cooler rendition of Smith. He's basically kind of, here's the funny part with it, he kind of bags on Warner Brothers a little bit. He legit mentions Warner Brothers and talking about how, they kind of twisted their arm to push forth into bringing something called the Matrix into play and bringing more things into that world, into, you know, what can be made as gangbusters if we bring it back to the scene. So basically, this is a movie that is way more meta than what it needs to be in some aspects. And it's like, long story short, one of the Wachowskis, Lana Wachowski, I should say, was the only Wachowski who came back. The other Wachowski, I forgot the name, but they weren't in agreement to coming back because I guess it's like this big old legal tug of war that's going on between them and Warner Brothers, and basically them mentioning the whole Warner Brothers stuff in this is like kind of like their jab at Warner Brothers. And quiet as kept, Warner Brothers has been, when it comes to popular stuff like, say, The Matrix and even some of the DC properties, they've kind of screwed the pooch in so many ways of the word, as some of peeps would say, when it comes to doing something good, but then, or having the potential of doing something good, but then next thing you know, they just screw it over because they want to be so greedy. They want to, have the upper hand against somebody like Disney / Marvel or Disney / Star Wars, that type of thing. So basically, this is Lana Wachowski's proverbial middle finger to Warner Brothers. This is what really the movie turns out to be. In hindsight, there are some redeemable qualities in regards to this movie. Prime example, some of the newer characters that are involved. Jessica Henwick, you may know her as one of the Sand sisters from Game of Thrones. She was also in as Colleen Wing in the Iron Fist series, which is probably the only redeemable character of that show, as well as the Defenders show. She plays a character called Bugs, and of course, it's a play off Bugs Bunny. And she's basically somebody who basically comes across Thomas / Neo and tells him that, hey, I believe you exist. I believe, you are who you are. You may think you are this person, but in actuality, I know who you truly are, and I know what you're truly capable of. So she's one of these, like, I guess, surviving descendants of Zion, who has been told of the prophecy of Neo and what he's done in the battle against the machines from back when. And she's recruiting Neo to kind of, I guess, help battle against this new onslaught of technology that is about to partake against the world. Now, when we also first meet up with Bugs towards the beginning of the movie, she comes across a very familiar sequence. And what I mean by that very familiar sequence is basically a reenactment of the beginning of the very first Matrix movie. The only difference is you got a brother playing Agent Smith. And it's not just any other brother. It's Mr. Yahya Abdul Mateen, who's best known for his work in the Candyman remake that happened earlier this year. He's also done awesome work with HBO's Watchmen. He's also been in the Aquaman movie as Black Manta. So he comes across, at first, as Agent Smith. And I was kind of thrown off, but then I was like, okay, let's see what happens here before I pass major judgment. So as the movie progresses, they come across each other, and after this subtle reenactment of the very first movie, they come across somebody who we think or may have been Trinity, but in actuality, it wasn't Trinity. And like I said, it's like a total, absolute reenactment. This Agent Smith, or Black Agent Smith, I would call him from now on, or for his time at least, he had these two other agents that were, helping chase down fake Trinity, as I would call. And it was kind of like, okay, it's a nice, I guess it's a nice little callback to the original movie, but I don't see what's the real point. So as Yaya's Agent Smith comes across Bugs, she basically coerces him to change glasses because his vision is blurry. And when he changes it to another pair of sunglasses, all of a sudden now he's Morpheus. Yeah. Yahya Abdul-Mateen in this new Matrix movie is the new Morpheus. Hence the reason why I guess there's been some issues about Lawrence Fishburne not coming back. So there's a whole bag with that. And if anybody's got any other ideas or, info as to why Lawrence Fishburne really wouldn't come back, please, comment. Let me know what's up with that. I'd appreciate it. But anyhow, yeah, Abdul Mateen is Morpheus. He's not just like this younger, hipper, cooler variant of Morpheus. They do something weird with him to where he has a physical presence. But then later on in the movie, when they get to the whole scene of the Matrix itself and getting involved in the whole hive machinery type stuff, he ends up becoming this kind of like almost pseudo cybernetic sentient type being thing where he's almost basically made up of nanites to a degree. And it's kind of weird when you look at it and see it, but at the same time, it's kind of sort of cool. But it's like the physical version isn't as present as this sentient version. So, similar to that of the original trilogy or the original movie, I should say, when they bring Neo back and they bring him into the whole Matrix world once again, he comes across a new breed of freedom fighters. He got this one guy who is, I guess, a neologist who is basically like he's this uber Neo fanboy, and he's just elated to be fighting alongside him. Then you got other freedom fighters who are kind of similar to characters from the previous movies, which are callbacks. A couple of characters are, I guess, relatives of the original freedom fighters in here. Then you come across familiar faces too, and familiar faces such as Jada Pinkett Smith's character of Captain Niobe. Well, now she's known as General Niobe, and at first I couldn't tell because she's aged up in terms of the prosthetic face that he did for her. Gave her kind of like a like one eye is regular color, the other eye is like lightened, like it's slightly blinded, but when she starts talking, you could tell it's Jada Pinkett Smith as General Niobe, and she's like quote unquote semi-retired, but she still barks out the marching orders to the other freedom fighters. Then you have another character. I don't want to mispronounce the name, but it's the Merv character from part 2 and 3. He was the super suave, douchey egomaniac that they come across in Matrix, who had the little mansion type thing, and Neo, Trinity, and Morpheus were fighting all his goons or whatever. His character comes back, but he's all like bummy and raggedy and like real erratic. And when he comes across Neo in one of the sequences, the fight sequences, I should say, he's like all snapping, cursing him out and everything. It's because of you, it's your fault, and all this craziness. And it was kind of funny. And then, as time progresses throughout the movie, they kind of bounce back and forth And it's crazy how it works out because, yes, there are elements to where you are in this Matrix world. And of course, they reenact certain elements, like, the famous subway fight between Neo and Agent Smith, or you got some nice little shootout sequences that happen. And some of those are cool, but it's like not as groundbreaking as you would think because it's like we've been there and saw that. And then there's a couple sequences where they are in, I guess, the subpar reality, I would say, to where it's like Neo or Thomas, however you want to refer to him as, is convincing Tiffany slash Trinity to believe in what he's saying, believe she is really Trinity, not this person who's supposed to be quote unquote wife and mother. And part of the main plot of the movie, it seems like, hence the title Resurrections, is to basically have Trinity snap out of believing she is this superhuman badass freedom fighter as opposed to this wife mother role that she's succumbed to courtesy of you know what's going on in this new program with the Matrix. So in hindsight, as I said before, this movie is a little too meta to where it needs to be. I mean, the action sequences are okay, but we've been there and saw that. And, I like Keanu Reeves. I've always liked most Keanu Reeves stuff throughout the years, outside Matrix, stuff like Point Break, the first Speed movie, just some of the cool stuff he's done over here. So he didn't do too bad. I just honestly prefer after this, he don't get talked and doing nothing else involving the Matrix. Just stick to doing more John Wick stuff. And I I prefer him to just be in the John Wick realm as opposed to the Matrix realm. Carrie Ann Moss, she still looks great for her age. She still can show some moments where she can kick some butt here and there and everything. That's about it. Yahya Abdul Mateen again. I like the brother. I think he is a great up and coming superstar that we have going on right now. I just don't think he should have been known as Morpheus, or not only just that, the whole him as Agent Smith at first thing didn't halfway make too much sense. He could have just been a totally new character that, hey, I'm this new character, but Morpheus has told me about you. He's told me about what you've done, what you're capable of, this and that. He just didn't have to be called Morpheus. Probably the only character I really, really, truly liked though was the character Bugs, because she was somebody new, she was somebody fresh, she was somebody innovative, and plus, from watching Jessica Henwick's previous work with Game of Thrones, as I said, and her being the only redeemable character in the Iron Fist shows as well as the Defenders, she kind of shined in this one the most to me. Neil Patrick Harris, he was okay. Basically, his therapist role, and again, my spoilers by the way, he ends up becoming more as a variant of how the architect was in the previous trilogy. He's kind of like the newer rendition of the architect. That's how I see his character. He's like real manipulative. He's snarky, condescending, kind of how the previous architect was, but he puts a little more of a comical panache or somewhat comical panache on that. And this new guy, this new Agent Smith character, again, CEO douchebag, he didn't have to be referred to as Agent Smith. It was just like he was just a one and done character to me. Didn't bring too much of a major uber threat to Neo's character. It was just like Could have got somebody else a little more interesting, or somebody that could have brought a little more flair to that role, like I don't know, Tom Hiddleston or Michael Fassbender, or somebody of that nature. He, I think, if they would cast a different actor to that to be like Agent Smith, if they really need one to be, I would have got somebody more well known and recognizable to partake in that role. And I probably would have been a little more sold and interested to see what they could have done. And just looking at this all in all through 2.5 hours, it's not a terrible movie. I'm not saying it's not terrible, but I wasn't as sold as I thought it would be. Because there are like some, especially when you do like repeats of sequences that, originally wowed us in the first Matrix film, it's like I kind of got similar vibes to how the sequel trilogy was in, Star Wars, like with Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and Rise of Skywalker, where they did some sequences that were kind of a more of a updated remix rendition of what stuff that happened in the original movies. That's what I got. And that's the similar vibe I got with Matrix Resurrections. So it's like, eh, what what else I could say about this? It's like, if you really love the Matrix world, go ahead, have at it, have a good time with it. Um, Other than that, I wasn't as impressed as I thought I would be. I don't hate it, I don't despise it, but it's like I'm in that realm of been there, done that with this movie. And I was like, I was hoping for something a little bit more exciting, a little bit more intense, a little bit more awe-inspiring, and I got very little of that in this. So it is what it is as far as that this review of Matrix Resurrections goes. Again, if you love the Matrix world, go ahead, have at it. See if you can have a good time with it. See if you can point out stuff I might have missed. See if you point out stuff that other people may have missed or may have not understood. But it, the only other way I could describe this is that this could have been simplified more. It could have been like, overly explained with not so much just the techno babble, but the whole um pseudo techno spiritual stuff that they got going on in the movie. And I know that it's supposed to cross reference into like, certain symbolisms such as spirituality and freedom or what have you. But it's like, once again, I feel like the original movies kind of sort of already covered that. So to have a repeat of this, it's like, But that's pretty much all I got for that. But I would say thank you to all who took the time to check out what I had to say on this. One more time, I would say that I got a upcoming show or multi-pound show in regards to Power Book 2, 3, and BMF. So if you want in on it, hit me up on DMs via Instagram or on Facebook Messenger. Let me know if you want me down on it. Probably looking at doing it on this coming Thursday. Other than that, that's about it. Thank you for your time. Thank you for giving me a listen. Once again, this was going to be a short one. Nothing too long, nothing too major. But other than that, you stay safe. Keep enjoying your good movie stuff. You want to chop up more movie-ish with me, by all means, hit me up. Let me know. You want to be on a future show for 2022, hit me up. Let me know, because I got major plans coming up for 2022 and this upcoming platform. So I'd love to hear what you got to bring to me. All right. Stay safe. Enjoy the rest of your Monday evening. Two finger salute. I'm out.